going to have a few PowerPoints. I've never used a PowerPoint before, so we don't know how it's going to go. But let's get started. First, I want to tell you about some of the missionaries that we have in Taiwan. This girl is Anne Alexander, and her father was a professor in one of the universities, a missionary. And he had 2 boys and 2 girls. And they came over for summer vacation to Hualien, and I was stationed in Hualien. And the boy got a fever. And they thought it wasn't bad, but it turned out to be what the sleeping sickness, now be. And the fever got very bad, and the U.S. was still stationed in Japan. They sent a helicopter over, carried him out, but he died on the way to the hospital. So they lost 1 boy, and that could disappoint people. But then, you know, a month later, they took the other boy. The father was on a Boy Scout hike, and the boy went into one of those pillboxes, and he fell. And they carried him to the hospital. He died on the way to the hospital. They lost 2 boys in 1 month. And they stayed on. They didn't give up on God. They didn't give up on the mission field. And now this is one of their daughters, the other daughter. They're both missionaries to Taiwan. The daughters stayed on, they believed in God, and they carried on the mission. So you see, sometimes God takes us through hard places, but her younger sister was a classmate to my children, and they said, you know, the Alexander girl, she never gets depressed, she never gets down. She knew what was important in life. So you never found her down. And then another missionary that I want to introduce to you is Ellen Giebel. And she was born in China, missionary parents. They came back to America. And when she was in school, her older sister took her to a certain church, and her older sister became a Christian, and then Ellen became Christian. And the older sister had a boyfriend who was going to Africa as a missionary. And she said, I don't want to go to Africa. I think I'd like to stay in America. So she broke up with him. And Ellen, she stayed with her plan to be a missionary. She felt God was calling her. So she went out on a boat under the OMS, the Overseas Missionary Society, and went to Shanghai. And that was 1948. And she was there when the communists came, and they were under house arrest. And finally, you know, all the OMF missionaries got into Hong Kong. And in the end, Ellen ended up in Taiwan. She was afraid that Taiwan would be taken by the communists, and she didn't want any more house arrest. But, you know, we go where God sends us. And my mother said, oh, she was such a pretty young girl. Why did they have to send her to Dickson? That's off in the boondocks. She'll never get married out there. And I asked Ellen about that. And Ellen said, no, I chose to go to Dickson. And she was there in learning Taiwanese and also learning Mandarin. And in the weekend, she would go up into the mountains and help the mountain churches. Now, you know, the mountains didn't have sanitary, and they had fleas. And when she got through sleeping under what we call mipui, a quilt, her face would be all puffed up with flea bites. And that was Ellen. And she helped us in our work, too. She's with our students now. She's interviewing a student who has made a commitment, but we want to make sure that student really knows what the commitment is. So Ellen helped us with that. And Here she's helping in our schools. She had her own work too. She was out at the Bible school for mountain people. That's Ellen. Another thing that we did, we believe in short-term missions. And there were 2 teachers, American teachers, that wanted to come out. And we worked with OMF or InterVarsity, and we'd have them send us people that they had screened. And this is one of the people. She's in our orphanage, teaching our orphans how to play the organ. And here's another one. And in the summer, they would go to we have this campground that you just saw in the movie called Ban Mi, and it's by the ocean. And the children get to go every summer and swim in the ocean. And there they are marching down the road with our orphans. They eat there and they sleep there. I like that because they're with the children 24 hours a day. And I know the children are not being beaten because there's somebody watching. And so the children are taken care of. And they went back and told about their experiences, took pictures, and I heard they visited 27 churches. So they expanded missions. This one is Esther. Her parents were missionaries, and she fit in very well because it was like home to her. And this one is Maureen. So we had these missions. We got one, and I remember seeing her before she came out. Her name was Laura Clark, and I went to see her at Wheaton College. And she lived in the orphanage, and she would go home with the orphans. If the orphan would be going out, she would pack like the orphans. I remember she put all her belongings in a plastic bag, just like the orphan, got on the bus. But Laura Clark learned the language well, and she felt God calling her to China. And I said, if you want to leave the orphanage and go to China, you go with my blessing. You go where God wants you. And so we're still in touch with her. And here's a picture of her later in China. She wanted to have an orphanage of her own in China. And she picked up this little boy with a cleft lip and 2 girls. And in that picture on the right-hand side in the red, that's Enoch with the cleft lip. The one in pink is Elizabeth, and the one in the back is Sarah. And they were just babies on the train. She was in innermost China, and she was expelled from that province because she spoke out so openly about the Lord. And the Chinese on the train would give her money and food. And there was a young man there that went with her, and in the end they got married. He was very much in love with the Lord, a Chinese Christian. They got to Shanghai and were married, and then they were taking care of these 3 small babies. Well, the babies grew up, and she brought them back to America and to go to Moody Bible Institute. Enoch, Elizabeth, and Sarah. And right now, Enoch is back in China. Sarah is in Okinawa teaching in a Christian school. And now Elizabeth is, and Sarah is a nurse. And I said to Sarah, where are you going to go as a missionary? She says, wherever they send me. And then she has 8 others that she's adopted. And so she'll come back with a handful pretty soon. So that is Laura Clark. There was another one, Jeff Vandermolen. He came out and he lived with the orphans. I have a picture of him in helping the children swim. He went back to Wheaton, and I think he thought about it a while, and 2 or 3 years later, he went to the Dominican Republic, and he started an orphanage there. And some of the people from his church followed him there. So you see it goes out like ripples. Most of our work was in Hualien, because that's where the mountain people were, and that's where my mother found the poorest people. My husband and I. Now, I want to divert this just a little bit. I want to tell you, if you're going to the mission field and you're considering marrying, I've overheard my husband say, marry a girl that's going to the mission field too. I was interested to hear that. And this is our native church. The pastor and his wife were very interested in church planting. The wife had a real talent for making schedules for us. She'd say, how many times are you able to lead the prayer meeting? Once a month, twice a month? And then she'd make a schedule out, and we all knew what we had to do. And that little church became a dynamic church. Out of there, the young people, 20-some went into full-time Christian service. We learned where to send them. We sent them to Kaohsiung, Kaohsiung, because that was where the Hudson Taylor Bible School was. And the people, the children, the youth that came out of there seemed to be very dynamic. They didn't lose their faith. And we had fun. And so if they didn't have money and they were able to go to Bible school, we could pay towards their tuition. And also the church established other churches. We had what we called in Taiwanese Gateng Leipai. We had worship in homes. And then when more people came together, we could start a church. And I think they started 8 churches. But this is the Lord. You know, in Mark 16, there's a verse that is very interesting to me. It says, they went forth, the Lord working with them. And you know, one of the most wonderful things that we experience is the presence of God. We want God real. This is more important than anything. A good marriage, a good job, is God going to be real? And I've heard people say, and I think it's true, that on the mission field, God is more real because He knows it's hard and He works with you. Okay, this is Dong Kyung Lo. This is one of our church members, and actually I made a video about her life. She came to the Lord, and in the end, we had her in our home for pre-weds. And so we had the mountain mothers in there, which you just saw. And on the side of that, we had for girls that were having babies but were not married. And we would take those in. And we'd give, if they wanted them to adopt it out, we would give them out for adoption. 150 were adopted out. People would come out. I remember one French couple came, and they were talking lovingly in French to the little Taiwanese baby. But 6 pre-weds were baptized. And actually, Dr. Brown, who has spoken to you, his wife had a Bible study for them. She worked with these pre-weds. They were just down the road from us. This is the boys' trade school. And we saw some of it on the video. You know, they had chickens, and then they had cars. And the person we had was really an excellent Christian. And I remember on weekends, Tank would take him, Tank is my husband, take him to a mountain church, and he said it was really far away. It was Hanjidiao, they said, and he said the bus trip was very dangerous. But Tank went to other churches, and then he found that this young man took his students to that same church over and over again, followed up on it. And of our students, you know, they repaired cars, and we also had a stepping stone school for boys to help them get into a good high school. And out of these boys, some of them got sidetracked, and 150 became ministers. I'll go on to church planting out. This lady was her children were so successful that that everybody wanted their kids to study with her children. So they started a church and they didn't need any help. And Jin Tiek, he became a minister. He was one of the young people. And his mother said to me, I said to him, she said, "You're always telling people how to believe in Jesus, but you don't tell me." So he led his mother to the Lord. But his father did not, and was really angry that he was going to be a Christian. So we prayed for his father for 15 years. So don't give up praying. My time is short. These 3 children were brought into the orphanage. The father was very desperate because he had no place to take them. And then the father was in a motorcycle accident, and the father died. And the relatives were going to take them, and they said, somebody said, "Ask the children." Children said, "We want to stay in the orphanage." You see, this is one of the ways we saw what the Buddhists did. And the Buddhists had a stall in the night market. So we put a stall up, and we had Bibles. They didn't know where to buy Bibles. And we had Christian videos. The Buddhists had literature in the train station. So we took literature. And we got somebody who came to the Lord through the literature in the train station. God let us know that. My mother went also to Papua New Guinea and brought school there, and I can't go into all of that, and there's a movie you're going to see later in the year called Miracle at Mara. But this poem describes my mother. She said, "My feet are bruised, but I have climbed today." And you know, if you look in the internet for Lillian Dickson, you will see it. She says, life is like a coin. You can spend it any way you want, but you can only spend it once. My mother said, life, this is the most wonderful life that I could ever have. And she says, live a life that when you look back, you don't feel regret.
Yes.
Don't want to look back and say, I could have done more, but I didn't. You want to live a life that you don't regret. Here or hereafter, we shall see it ended. This mighty task to which our soul is set. If from beyond, then with the vision splendid, we will look back and never know regret.